Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Nancy. Very happy to be back in Plainfield. It has been ever since I spoke from the last time in 2022, it has been quite a ride. And Plainfield was one of the first places that I started speaking, or one of the first public libraries. And it has been an amazing ride. And I'm very happy to be back. So today we are going to talk about finding your Latin American ancestors online. And so one of the ways I came up, one of the reasons I'm very passionate is specifically about family search and talking about family search is because family search is one when it comes to Hispanic genealogy, it is one of the most important resources that we can go and find a lot of our collections from our different countries. Not to say I don't want to give false hope that every country's going to have or you're going to find for everybody. The reality is, yes, collections have been lost. Our countries are places that have gone through a lot um, between weather, wars, battles, and it is a reality. But one of the beautiful things I learned, and that was extremely motivating to me when I started 12 years ago with the research, is the hard work that has been done by many in back in our countries to preserve what has survived. And a lot of that is available through Family Search. So when I get started, I don't one thing I do want to say, don't worry about you're going to see me clicking around and where I'm going to go. I'm going to be explaining, but all these links that you're going to see are going to be available in the handout that Sarah put out. So don't worry about it. I just want you to sit back and relax with your coffee if you're still drinking coffee. All right. So before we get started, really get started on family search though, I also like actually let me get started with this first. The records. Before I don't know where everybody is in your research, but it is very important before you start to understand what documents you are going to be looking for, especially when you go into a place like Family Search, because it has an amazing resource with but a lot that can make you a bit overwhelmed, especially when you're not sure what you're looking for. So I do want to explain a little bit about the records especially the main ones that you're going to be running into and what you're going to be looking for first. And then we can jump into Family Search. What is Family Search? And start exploring the different sections that are going to be, hopefully they will be able to help you in finding more and more information about your ancestors. So one of the main records that you're going to or collection that you're going to really run into or start with is the civil registration. So former Spanish colonies, which is what we're focused on today, are all started civil registration. Usually most of them around the late 1800s. I have seen even to the early 1900s. Civil registration are records that record life events, birth, marriage, and death. And then they're kept and archived. They're registered, they're documented and archived in the local municipality level. Think of it as the city clerk today. That's basically it. Before civil registration, everything in the former Spanish colonies, all these life events were recorded and archived at the church. But when you start genealogy, you want to start with the most current. I always advise people. I know you're like, oh, I want to know about my great grandfather. And some people will jump right into that as soon as they can. I always emphasize the importance of the document trail, starting with the most current, because you never know what you're going to find. So civil registration, things to note about civil registration is that not Civil registration did not start at the same time in all the Spanish colonies. They all started at they started at different times. Even within a country, with it, so it can vary from municipality, from department to state. It can vary within a country. So it is very important to note, to actually research and note, when did civil registration start in your particular area of research, because that is going to determine when you will definitely have to go into church records. There is also other types of records. There is census records that might be available, census records from for some of our countries when they were part of Spain at the time. There is definitely those records that you will eventually get into once you start expanding. But I will definitely say that civil registration, church records are going to be some of the main, you're going to be knee deep in those if possible. But I do like to also emphasize, so that for the most part, that's for a lot of our countries. Some of our countries, you might jump into church records right away. Civil registration records are not digitized, unfortunately, for everybody, but for all the countries. But for the most part, if it is available, that's where you're going to start, and then eventually jump into then go to church records. So for example, in Puerto Rico, civil registration started in 1885. So any event that might have occurred before 1885, you're going to go into the church records. As long as those church records are available, a lot of the church records of Puerto Rico are digitized, but there are some for some of the towns, whether they've been lost or are not digitized. So you still have the option of contacting the diocese directly and asking and seeing if those records are available. The same for other countries. So you can, if you see that the church records are not available through FamilySearch or any other website, then you can contact the diocese directly and see if the local diocese of the area that you are researching, and see if those records are available. Just please note that process can sometimes be very slow. The churches are very sometimes dependent on volunteers, and they don't always have volunteers to help with looking into the archives. I do want to note for Puerto Rico, the strategy, because of course we're going to start with the most recent, changes a little bit. So Puerto Rico, I will say, because Puerto Rico became or was acquired by the US in 1898. And then the first census is the 1910 census. And I just realized I don't think I'm sharing my screen. I'm sorry about that, everybody, but either way, there wasn't showing anything. I just jumped right in. Anyway, this is actually one of the most important slides. All right, sorry about that.
We're
But
still not seeing it.
not still seeing it. Oh, let's see. There we go.
There we go.
So this is a list of some of the records, so U.S. collections that Puerto Rico starts to appear after 1910. Puerto Rico was acquired in 1898, but there is no 1900 population schedule for Puerto Rico. It starts in 1910, goes on to 1920, 1930, 1935, 36, and then it goes on 1940 and 1950. So 1935, 36, there was a special census done for Puerto Rico. And then obviously you will find our ancestors in the World War I draft collection. As soon as Puerto Ricans we were given citizenship through the Jones Act in 1917, our men were required to fill out the World War I draft card. So you will find our ancestors in some of those. So these are just some of the US collections. There are more US collections that Puerto Rico starts to appear. So how does it change when it comes to jumping into research? Puerto Rico, you're going to probably run into the census records first. From the census, then you're probably going to go into the civil registration records. So just keep that in mind. Um, I would say between 1910 to 1950, Puerto Rico, you're going to go between census records, civil registration. From 1910 back to 1885, civil registration. 1885, before 1885, church records. So just keep them in mind. I know that for Mexico, there is a 1930 national census available too. So Mexico, if you are in Mexico, that is another one you might, along with the civil registration records, you're going to find that you will definitely check out. You could definitely check out the 1930 national census, but we'll talk about that a little more. But yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing my slide, so, and it just went blank on me there. All right. So I wanted to explain a little bit in regards to the documents that you are going to find, because it is very important to understand that. And for Puerto Rico, another thing to note is that while we were acquired in 1898, Puerto Rico kept the Spanish format of the records well into the 1930s. So there is a difference. So with the Spanish format of the records, we do get a lot of information. So just keep that. It is possible with Spanish format, you get a lot of information about the informant, where they worked, where did they live, where were they currently living. If the informant, let's say it's a birth record, is a parent, you're for the maternal, and you're going to get maternal, paternal, grandparent information, where they work, how old they are possibly, where they were originally from, where they're currently living at the time, are they no longer living? So this is information that you can get, potential that you can get in most of the documents. I have seen this a lot in Mexico, Puerto Rico. I will say Dominican Republic is, and right now Dominican Republic, El Salvador, and Panama are the other countries I've seen civil registration for, where I have not seen grandparent information. So what I usually say to you, to the people that are from those areas, that's when you really want to take a particular, more take a really keep a close eye on who are the informants, who are the godparents if you're looking at church records. Even though in Dominican Republic, godparents would usually did do the civil registration for births. Who are the witnesses? Because a lot of times these were very close family members. So hopefully now you're understanding a little more about the records. So it's civil registration, church records, but you're also going to combine it at first with some census records if they are available. So now, what is FamilySearch? FamilySearch is a free online database that contains genealogical collections. They contain genealogical collections for a lot of the Hispanic countries. And the reason why they have contracts with a lot of the general archives, the genealogical societies, the municipalities, to be able to go ahead to help them. They come in and they help digitize these records and get them to help to preserve. I know recently they actually just signed a contract with the municipality of San Germán in Puerto Rico. And so they're going to be helping and digitizing those, which is going to be an amazing resource, considering San Germán is one of the oldest municipalities of Puerto Rico. It is administered by the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, Utah. So the main library is Family History is in Salt Lake City, Utah. They administer so they are the ones that have contracts with all these our different countries, and they make this database available to us. And for free. It is free and it is public. So in other words, right after this event, this conversation, you can actually go online and get registered right away and start exploring. You can, the only thing is being a free website and being public, you can only build one tree. If you're interested in building a tree on FamilySearch, you do not have to build a tree on FamilySearch. There's other options for that. They do offer education on how to do genealogy, which I will show you when we get into the website. And another great benefit is the family history centers and family affiliate libraries. So they also have all these affiliate libraries literally all over the world in family history centers that if there are, because there are certain collections where the images you can't see from home, but you can go to an affiliate library, log in through their network, and you should be able to see the image from through their network. And you guys are right now in one of the Plainfield is one of the affiliate libraries for Family History Library. So you could, so it's, and I think there's actually 4 other family history centers around you, but we'll get into how you can find those. We talked about the civil registration and the church records in Puerto Rico. And now we are going to talk about the different sections that are going to help you enrich your research. I'm actually going to switch into FamilySearch now. You know, I think the reason I even forgot to turn on my camera because I was eager to get to FamilySearch, because this part I really want you guys to get as much as possible from this. So this is the FamilySearch website. I'm already logged in. And a lot of times, yeah, a lot of people will just jump into the search for ancestor section. But I'll be honest, one of the first things that you need to do when you decide, okay, let's see, my grandfather was born in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. You should research first what it could be available for Arecibo. But how do you know? Where do you go? If you go to search right here, and you go down to research Wiki, this page is going to open. This is the Wiki page. And you're probably thinking Wikipedia. Yes, it is similar to Wikipedia in the sense that it will have, it has different authors that come in and add information. So just keep that in mind. But it is this belongs to FamilySearch. So I know I want to know about Arecibo, Puerto Rico. So it says Arecibo, Puerto Rico genealogy. This is the Arecibo, Puerto Rico genealogy wiki page. So if you can narrow it down to, in Puerto Rico, for example, if you can narrow it down to the municipality, that is best. Mexico, if you can narrow it down to the state, and from the state, you keep narrowing down to municipalities, and that is best. But sometimes we, you know, especially for Mexico, you only know the state. But it's a good idea to what I like about the wiki page, it gives you a good idea of what is available. So that is what I like about it. It gives you right away a good idea of what's available online. It's always even me as a professional genealogist, this is where I start, just to give me a good idea. Okay, where can I go? Because there are other resources. So for example, if you can click here and it will give me online genealogy records outside of FamilySearch. It will give me ideas for outside of FamilySearch. It will give me a little bit of history. Sometimes it will even give advice. It will have information depending on the area. It will have information on who to contact, what departments to contact. or with emails for you to get copies of records. So the wiki page is definitely very important. So normally I start here. We got Arecibo. Then I scroll down. You see civil registration and church records. You want to go where it really says, so right here, it says Arecibo, Puerto Rico Civil Registrations, Arecibo. That is where I would like to go. So I click on there just to get an idea of what is available. And there is definitely a lot of records available for Arecibo as far as civil registration. So these are the death records. Looks here like they do start in 1885. And they are divided by year. Obviously, if you click some more, that's when it will take you directly to the images of those records. So it will open. I'm just going to show you the grid. So those are all the records that are available in this collection for 1885 through 1887 death records in Arecibo. So that is one of the benefits of definitely getting into the wiki page and giving you an idea of what's available. There are no church records. So it says here, Puerto Rico definitely has church records. If there were church records for Arecibo, even though I will show you something else later, normally, if they were indexed and available through FamilySearch here, they would be listed right under here. I don't have anything. So that means, okay, that anyway, you're going to focus on church on the civil registration. But I do want to jump really quickly. Let's say I wanted to start with I want to look at Puerto Rico, or let's see Mexico. So you can look at what a general page looks for a country. A lot of the countries, this is for Mexico, are going to have the clickable maps. So for example, if you know that you are going to be going into Jalisco, you can also click, it is clickable down here. But if I want it, okay, I want Jalisco. This is the Jalisco wiki page. It will give you a little bit of the history. There are other information about other online genealogy records. I would explore this more so when you are ready to move on outside of FamilySearch to expand. Like if you feel that, okay, I've gotten as much as I can, then I would just say, then this is where you want to explore. There's a little bit more of the history, and then it's divided. There's another clickable map of the regions within Jalisco. So let's say you know that you want to go to Costa Sur. And it narrows it down some more. So it narrows it down to the municipalities within Costa Sur. Let's say, okay, well, I know that I need to go Cuautitlán de García Barragán. I'll click here. I can either click there, and then it narrows it down some more. And then I can specifically see what is available in Fort Cuautitlán. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. So it says here that it includes the localities of Chacala, Cuautitlán de García Barragán, Tel Cruz, and Tequesquitlán, sorry. There is civil registration, says Registros Civiles del Municipio de Cuautitlán. And here they start in 1890. So this is an example of how civil registration actually starts within a country at different times, because there are civil registrations in other states of Mexico or other areas of Mexico that do go back to 1860. And they contained church records from Nuestra Señora de la Natividad parish from 1799 to 1942. So right there, you're like, okay, you can start your search for. So this is a good idea. Now you know that, okay, there are things available. Now, what do I do? I always say before you start jumping into the actual collection and looking at the images. See what you can find or pull up by just typing in the name of your ancestor. Because now you know there is something available. Where do you go for that? So I'm going to go back to my home page. If you go to search, you can either do it here, but I personally like to go to records, which is this page right here. So I'll do that again, search, and go to records. So I have gone to the Wiki page. I've seen what is available. Okay, let me see, what am I going to find? So normally I would do is start typing in information, let's see what happens. So in my case, I'm going to go, and the thing about, I do need to point this out. So one of the things with this search, less is more. In other words, the search engine, how when we Google, we got to play around with words sometimes to get the information we need. The same with this. Sometimes we do have to play around a little bit with how we type in the names, what information, how much information before, so so you can pull up as much information as possible. So one of the ways I like to do first, and I do it no matter where I am. So this is my grandfather. I'm going to put his first name and his last name. I do know his second last name, but I like to put the first last name. Like I said, less is more. I know he was born in Caguas, but I usually start very general. So I'm going to start with Puerto Rico. The same with Mexico. I do Mexico or Dominican Republic, or I start general. I do know his parents' name, his father's Senen. For Senen, I'm not going to put his first last name because we have Alicea up here. And then I know his mother's name is Cristina Agosto. And then I see what pulls up. And it actually does pull up his death record, but nothing else. So this is when I say play around with the search engine. So now I'm going to play around with taking out Sinning. And the reason why I do this is because in some cases, for some reason in the index, they write a lot the name of the mother. And I also do happen to know that my grandfather's parents were not married. And a lot of times children, when they were doing the civil registration, if the mother was the one that appeared, it would be only her name that would appear. Not to say that sometimes, yes, fathers did appear to register their kids, even if the parents were not married. But a lot of times, or a lot of times I see they don't. And so in the case of my grandfather, he was what we call hijo natural, hija natural. So if you see this in the records, it indicates that this is a person that was born to a union where parents were not married. And yes, it is very common. Very common. So it is very important to note this, because then that means there's a good chance that, for example, I was not finding him under Alicea, even though I know his parents did stay together for a while and he knew his dad and he did use Alicea all his life. We're Alicea. Then I decided to look under his mom, or his mom's last name, Agosto. Sure enough, we found him. I found his birth record. So in this case, this is more to give you an idea. So right now, I pull up another set of information, the 1930 census. That didn't pull up before. So this is what I mean, it's best to just play around and less is more. And with this, and this here shows why we have to play around. And this is everybody. This is universal for everybody. It is the indexed information right here, the transcribed information. Unfortunately, there's a lot of spelling mistakes and things like that. or sometimes even for civil registration records or even church records, they'll put the grandparents as the parent. So this is the reason why we kind of have to play around, and less is works better, less is more, because right now my grandfather was transcribed with a J, and Alicea was transcribed with an S, and it is not spelled that way in the record. Sorry, taking a little while here. So I'm trying to kind of close it up for you here, but it's taking a little bit. So right here, it does have, so Abuelo Senen, yes, they spelled his name with an S, but it says Cristina Agosto de Alicea, and it is a C and an E, but it was still transcribed with an S and an I. So that is one of the reasons why it's good to play around, and this is something you're going to see in everywhere, for all records, universal. Then sometimes, okay, I'm still looking for that birth record. I want to just to emphasize the need. This is more to emphasize the need to play around with how much you put. So right now, just by taking out the Alicea, I pulled up his birth record. And so that's what I mean. And sometimes another strategy that I use is I'll take out his name and I'll put the parents' names. That's another strategy that I do use, just to see what else I pull up. In this case, I didn't pull up much because Senen is probably spelled in all kinds of different ways. But this is my way of finding what I can readily available. It's not necessarily means that, oh, okay, well, this is all I found. That's it. I can't, no. Let's say I had not pulled up that birth record and I'm going to, and I know that Caguas has records, has civil registration records. So this would be an instance where I would go back to the Wiki page, go to Caguas, go to the civil registration, and then go to the collection of births that contain births for 1922 and look at the images. So that is where I would do that when I would decide to do that. This is mostly for me to know, okay, to see what I can get right away, basically. Another place I like to go, it's find a collection. And this is also another of finding other collections. So but I like to go to browse all collections. What I like about this page, it tells me when collections were updated. So if I go to Puerto Rico, I like to just put the name of the country. And as you can see, these are collections that are mostly searchable. But we do have the records of foreign residents here from 1815 to 1845. In those, it says browse images. It's because it's not searchable. You have to go and look at the images. So this is another way. What I like about this, it tells me when the last updates occurred. So the last update, actually the most recent update, was to the Puerto Rico Catholic Church records, which was done a couple days ago. And so that means, okay, let me see what that, maybe by going into the records or into the search like we did, I might be able to pull something up. And later on, if we have time, I would love to try to see if I can help some of you find information for certain countries or certain areas. Mexico, so Mexico, Puerto Rico, while Puerto Rico is, and this is just an example of what you're going to see in some of the countries. Mexico, a lot of the collections are divided by the state, as you saw. Puerto Rico, for example, you do have to go, for example, let me just go to civil registration. So this is another way to do search. So it is going to take you to this page where I can do the search like we did in the other page. But another way to narrow things down, if you go to browse all, it is actually going to divide things by the municipality. So this is another way to get to to narrow things down. But I don't want to confuse you too much, but there is just so many different ways. So for example, if I know abuelo, okay, Caguas, then I know I'm going to go to the nacimientos right here between 1922 and 1925. Or there's another collection here from 1920 to 1930. So I know those are two different collections I might have to look into. All right, so let's say you checked the Wiki page, you exhausted all the different ways to pull up information in the search, and you still have holes. You still like, so I know Puerto Rico, I know Caguas has, you know, some civil registration, but I looked in the images for the collections that were available there. I didn't find, let's say I had not found my abuelo in his birth record there. Okay, so what else can where else can I check? When I go back to the homepage, so you see how to get there, you go to search, images. And this is the page that will open up for you. And search and images. So this is actually a beta because this was actually just introduced on Roots Tech. So these are images that are not indexed yet and are not searchable, but are available to be seen, to be looked at. So for example, if I wanted to go, let's see, Dominican Republic. There's 83,016 records or images still that need to be that are not searchable. So in other words, you can still go and look in here and be like, well, let me see if there's in my case, I probably would have said, well, let me see if there's anything for Caguas, Puerto Rico, and check out what's available. You can either put Caguas or you can put just put the name of the country. Right here on the right, and this will be for everybody, it will divide by the name of, in this case, by the name of the municipalities. I'm going to click on Caguas. And I can see there are additional church records in here. I'm looking for 1922. So I will probably just scroll down and see what is available here. But this is actually just a beta because they just introduced this. But these are just images of records that are not, you won't find them. They are not going to pull up. But I would definitely go here once you exhaust what you can get through the search. In others, process of elimination. It is one of the best because the thing is with FamilySearch, with genealogy, it can get overwhelming. And especially when you see all the different possibilities of where you can go. So it is very important to just try to come up with a process. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. So Wiki page, exhaust your search. Wiki page to make sure something is available. Okay, there's something available. Then you're going to go into the search and decide, okay, let me see what I can exhaust from just doing the search. And then back to the Wiki page into the individual collections. Did not find anything there, then you want to probably branch out over here. In the images section, sometimes you're going to find census records that are not yet, that have not been indexed. For San Juan, Puerto Rico, I have seen census records that go back to 1833. So that is one of the, so once I've exhausted once I have exhausted and found all the church records, I feel I have found that I can find up to that point. and the civil registration that I can find up to that point. Then I kind of try to see what might be available during those years, or at least for census records or other types of records for when my ancestors were alive. But this is a great, I mean, you can spend a lot of time here. And just to give you an idea, this is this number here that keeps changing. It's literally live. That is how much, that is what they're uploading as we speak. They're constantly uploading. So in other words, if you've gone in and you've seen, oh, well, I haven't found anything yet, I didn't find anything this time, always check in periodically because there's always something, they're always uploading. So you checked out the search, but there are other areas where you can find even more. And I don't mean, and I'm trying not to get you overwhelmed because there is so much. But here you got the catalog. In the catalog, it gives you what might be available in family search centers, what might be available just online. I personally just do any because I want to see what's available in general. So one of the interesting things that I want to see, and if you remember at the beginning, the wiki page for Arecibo didn't show church records. So I just put in Puerto Rico. So this is everything in basically that is available Puerto Rico. It will include it includes other types of records that once I feel that again, once you've exhausted as much as possible as far with church and civil, then you want to definitely, this is when you start branching out. And the catalog is a great place to explore history, other genealogies that have been done and have been digitized and kept by the Family History Library. But here at the top, I want to get to Arecibo. You click to places within Puerto Rico, places within Cuba, places within Colombia, Mexico. You're going to click here. I'm going to go to Arecibo. So it narrows it down a lot. This is specific to Arecibo. You see here, it says church records. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's extractos de registros parroquiales. Even more interesting. So I'm like, oh, wait, they do have church records available. So they do, it does look like they have some marriage and some baptismal records available or images available for Arecibo. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can look at it. But then I see the camera with the key. The camera with the key means, and I'm going to click on it so you can see, it means I can look at the image if I were to go to a family search center or a family search affiliate library. So that is why it was not on the wiki page. So that is one of the things, once you're pretty exhausted, you're ready to branch out, I would definitely invite you look at the catalog because the catalog is most likely going to give you other things to look to research on and to give you more ideas for research. The catalog will contain from digitized books that are available through FamilySearch. So it is extremely, and that's where actually we're going to be going into next. The next would be, so at this point, you're ready to dive in even deeper. You want to know if you can find books on history and things like that. Are they registered? Are they even digitized? And yes, there are a lot that are digitized. There are books, a lot of books on Cuba. There are some genealogical works for Cuba. So even though Cuba, for the most part here, you're going to find images for some church records for Cuba. And I know there was just a recent update, and actually just yesterday, to those church records. But that I would say that's one of the countries that is limited. But don't worry, I did actually, as part of the handout has slides for each country with links, with resources. So if I have actually personally I have done research on those countries, I have included resources that I personally know of that can help you. So for Cuba, I know that Cuba slide has a lot of, have some links for other resources that can help, and some do link back to FamilySearch. So for example, if you were in the Cuban Genealogy Club of Miami website and you go to their digitized book section, some of those books link back to FamilySearch. So that's why no matter what, I think in some ways you're always going to find yourself back in FamilySearch. So it's good to have that account open. One thing I do want to note for Puerto Rico, once you get to the point where you're looking at church records, bookmark this website, and it is included in the Puerto Rico slide. Bookmark this website. Hijos de Coamo is administered by the Orlando Reyes. He is a veteran Puerto Rican genealogist, and he part of the genealogical La Sociedad Puertorriqueña de Genealogía in Puerto Rico, and he's created this amazing website for free that you can go. I mean, the website has other resources that I definitely invite you to check out. For Puerto Rico, I've seen some for the other islands of the Caribbean. But he's created church indexes to help us navigate the church indexes, the church records in FamilySearch. So I do want, so for once you get to that part where you have no other choice but to really look, sorry, the scrolling. So don't look at the screen while I scroll. Let's say you're in Agua Bayamón, to the point where, okay, I need to look for church records, go to the Bayamón page of his website. And he's done it. I mean, there's just no way to describe what he's done for us when it comes to this. He includes history of Bayamón, or of the different towns, in this case, Bayamón. He has indexes, specifically for the records in FamilySearch. A lot of them do connect back to FamilySearch. He'll include, in some cases, if he has hands-on experience with the church, with the records, considering he's been doing genealogy a lot longer, he will actually include some information on the history of the collection, what happened to the collection, why is it not available, what are the conditions of the collection. So I do think if you're in Puerto Rico, once you jump into the part where you are going to be going into those church records, I would definitely invite you to bookmark that website because you will need it. And one of the last sections is, where do you find an affiliate library or family history center? So if you go up here, it's going to open the page, and then you're going to go to find a center. I'm going to put Plainfield, New Jersey. And right here where it is in bold, Plainfield is an affiliate library, and you also have 4 others, family history centers around you. I would advise, it has information on where they are, directions, it has the phone numbers. I always, for the family history centers, always call, check their hours, check if someone's going to be available. But yeah, this is the benefits of one of the great resource. It's a great resource to be able to have an affiliate library close to you, especially when you have images that you might not be able to see from home. Like in the case of Arecibo, the case of Utuado, if you are someone that is able to get to Spain, there are some Spain records that you can't see from home, or the images, you can't see the images. And of course, as I always say, please, when you can see the image, when you can read the document, please do. So I'm going to change over. So those are the different sections of FamilySearch. And I hope I didn't move through so quick, but because I literally, you can go deeper and deeper into each of these sections. But these are sections I did not know about when I first started. I did not know at anything. So, I I started to educate myself, and obviously Roots Tech Conference, which is also sponsored by the Family History Library, helped a lot. And all the videos, it helped a lot in regarding to teach me what is available, because this is beyond. So, you can see why you hit a brick wall early if you just stay in the records, searching the records just by typing in that name. So just some quick tips: always read the documents. Be cautious when you use information from other members' trees. Please use them as clues. Do not ever take a tree, somebody else's tree as, oh yeah, they have that, it's got to be true. If they have a birth date that you don't have, but they don't have a document to back it up, take that birth date and research it. Do not just put it down. If you're not 100% sure, don't put it in your tree yet. Save it. Can't do genealogy research without history research. It is extremely important. There is this great podcast that I do highly recommend. It's Archipelago Histórico podcast by Ramon González Arango Lopez. He very long episodes that are amazingly detailed, with historians, with professionals that he interviews from all over Latin America. It's an amazing way to get in history that we don't necessarily get in our history books, in a very objective and open way. Be mindful of who is the informant, the witnesses, and godparents. Have an understanding of the two last name system. Don't be rigid. And I say that because of the situation where we have children that were born to parents that were not married. And so sometimes there's that constant change of last names. Important to go beyond the set of great grandparents. Do not stick to just the great grandparents. You have to go down to those great aunts and uncles. You have to go down to to their children at times. Remember the keywords, and those keywords are in your handout. Check out church records nearby towns. Don't just stick sometimes to that certain town. You want to branch out to other towns nearby. And in the census records, always look around for those neighbors, because families did live in clusters. There is information on the Spanish caste system in the slides, which is all the different terms that Spain did use to identify ethnicity and why. That is also very important to keep in mind, because it is going to help you trace, in some cases, your indigenous or African ancestors, or other ancestors from other migrations, other places, because in our Hispanic American countries, we had a lot of different types of migrations too. That's just an example of the caste system, which is different terms. And this is where you can find me. So I hope I wasn't too quick for you. Sorry for the beginning I didn't start with my slide, but I just really hope, trying to put as much information as possible out there for you. And of course, any questions, always feel free to contact me in these and I did include that information also in the slides.